Hey, how's it going? Here, look at my signs before I start. Whoopsie. Okay. Hi. I'm getting off to a late start, like really late. So I guess there is no card for today. It's now yesterday. I'll put it up as if it's still today, though. It will have the correct date, but anyway. So I started today. The messages came early before I even pulled the card, which I love. And I had some notes that I wrote, so I'm just gonna. I don't know if I'm gonna read the whole thing, but I heard the word gentle, and I thought, okay, because when I woke up this morning. It was because the cat had gotten up off my chest and, walked off, but it was I was confused because it is summer, right? And well, the light was just wrong. It was I woke up and it was immediately like, oh, is it raining? It was that kind of light. There was no sun involved. It was definitely cloud cover light. And that confused me because it was July 7th, which is well into summer at this point, and even where I am, where it traditionally it's known for a lot of rainfall in my area, that's really dropped off. Like, people need to adjust their assumptions because it is far less rainy and the area far less lush than when I moved here over 20 years ago. It's just something that we just have to accept in life. It's well on the way. If we were going to stop it, we should have started in the late 70s when I think we actually knew what is happening was going to happen. Okay, I'm just constantly adjusting this because, see, I'm like leaning sideways because there's all kinds of symbols on this camera phone in front of my face, so I have to see my beautiful face. Anyway, it was like waking up in a cloud basically, and it was, for me, since I haven't had to work for a long time, that kind of light, that kind of cool, because there was no warm really. I actually had to double the sheet that I use when I sleep in the summertime. I had to double it up because I got cold. And I didn't wake up all the way. Like, the next time I woke up was a short time later, and it was because I heard the cat jumping down from something. I just heard him, clunk onto the floor, and I went back to sleep. And when I woke up, it was actually like an hour or so later, and I know this because the clock, when I open my eyes, it's just right there across the room, can't miss it. So I woke up first at 7, and then at like 7:30, and then I guess the cat had gone out, tired of waiting for me to get up and give him his wet food, so I still got up and gave it to him on time. He's always trying to get it early. But anyway, yeah, it was not warm out. It was still like really cloudy, and that's what messed me up. But it is a gentle way to wake up. When you can wake up and doze back off a couple of times and wake up at your leisure, that's a gentle way to wake up, right? So that happened, and then later I was, putzing around, or futzing. Either way, I was in there messing around in my kitchen, and I heard that word, so I just started to, write. And, here's a passage a little bit. The light is drowsing to me, or the light is drowsing me, soft and nuzzling, but I fight it with a feather for a sword. So yeah, I wasn't That would have been the part where I was waking up and falling back to sleep. Yeah, I don't want that part. Well, I sort of do. When I got up, finally, I, was looking for Mr. Kitty. And I opened the glass door and looked outside, and the flower pot, I made a short, cute but deadly. And it is because the cat murdered my garlic by sleeping in the flower planter thing. He's done that to several of my plants. I had a very nice lavender when I first got him that he made a bed of, and basically it just smothered to death. But he sure smelled good. He sure smelled great for a while. But I couldn't really get upset with him because he was at home. He was where he was supposed to be. And I don't know that he differentiates, like, obviously he doesn't differentiate dirt in a planter from dirt under a bush. They're smart. They're really smart animals. Dogs and cats, or whatever little animal you have. I just always talk about dogs and cats because they're common. I can be out on the street and a strange dog or cat is more likely to walk up to me and interact than a bird, somebody's pet bird that got loose, or really anything else. But I kind of was thinking about the communication between me and my cat and the other animals, and how it's a softer, gentler way to communicate. And I noticed that it's really like a whole lot more upsetting to me if I upset my cat. And the way that I do that, not intentionally, of course, but the way I do that is if I get upset, if I get angry, and I'm throwing out like angry, aggressive, sparks into the air. My cats, and I'm sure all of them, if they have a person they're really close to, are affected the same way. Like my guy he'll it'll look like he's frowning sometimes, and sometimes it'll just look like he's going, what are you doing? And he has a way of looking at me that can just shut me down, basically. And I'll do like whatever to make him happy, because the thought of upsetting him bad enough that he would run off is not acceptable. And I had the thought, or it was like I was hearing a voice in my head saying, well, what about people? And I'm like, nothing about people, because my cat is the people that's here. There's no like human spouses or kids or whatever here to be angry around. And the thing about people is they react differently when you have hotter emotions. They get hurt and they retaliate, either passive aggressively or aggressive aggressively. So I find with my cat, if I get upset at something like an overturned planter, which I didn't, it immediately affects him. If my tone of voice raises or goes into some emotional area, he's very perceptive to that. So he's like my barometer. And in a way, I've kind of learned more about how to behave with others from my cats than I have from people. Isn't that funny? So anyway, that was kind of where I went with the gentle thing. And there's other stuff in there that went along with it, but I think I've talked long enough about that. So I pulled 2 cards. One was from the Shaman's Dream Oracle, number 13, the Dream Thief, Refusal of the Call. closer, further. And if you'll notice, whoa, if you'll notice this, there's a creature, and it's bursting with color, and also it cannot figure out what the heck it is. It's a bird, cat, owl, griffin. I don't know, but notice the orb, the, what is the word, opalescent orb. It actually kind of looks like a pearl, but it's got like light bursting from it. It's obviously its own entity. It's something, and it looks like the creature's little talon finger things are holding on for dear life because they would like to, I don't know, I feel like it would like to crack it open like it's the egg of prey of some kind. But what I actually think that orb is the dreams, and the thief is the creature like grabbing at the orb. And it looks, I mean, it looks a little like it could be scary, but also if you look at the eyes look very needy, like they want your attention so bad, and you want to pay attention to your dreams, and this thing is the big what if monster. Like, what if it does this and that, and what if this and that happens? That, well, you know how dreams are. It could go south in a second, and you're like, wait, what happened? So, and in life too, I mean, I often think that things are going along swimmingly, and then all of a sudden, you know, you swim into a 2x4 that's just in the middle of the pool sticking up for you to run into, and you were not expecting that, but that's dreams for you. They're strange. So that's the flavor of this, for me. And I'm going to read from the guidebook about the Dream Thief card. Reflection of the path of rejection of the path of fulfillment. Refusal of the call. Now, see, that right there makes me think of, well, if you answer the call to like spirituality and like a more sensitive way of thinking and being, where you care about others, you care about how they feel, you care about what you do and how it may affect other people, I think it's something that we gradually arrive at, a place we gradually arrive at where we can make those, I'm going to say changes, because for years I thought things were one way, and then it was like a series of events, and I'm not saying that I was completely aware of it, but I changed. Things changed. Like, I did care more about having compassion. I started to care less about having, you know, status stuff. It's just convenient that I don't have any, or have any of it coming my way, but that's okay. I've gotten to see up close and personal how caring about stuff that doesn't really amount to much is kind of superficial, is what I'm saying. Is there's more important things in life than having designer, whatever it is. So, okay. And refusal of the call, well, there are a lot of people out there that are answering the call to violence, to hatred, to separation, to just disruption, where really these are decisions. They're not, you know, it doesn't have to be that way. People don't have to act this way or react, you know. it's really become a, what about me world, but the world is really more what about us, and that's a switch that I made that wasn't immediately obvious to me. It may have taken years, but I got it finally. So there's refusal, to put it in simple terms, refusing the call to be nice in favor of being a dick is kind of where I'm at with that whole thing. So I'm going to go on and read what it says. The dream thief is a soft and compelling seductress. Her only purpose is to keep you hypnotized by comfort and sameness. She wants you to tell your old stories over and over so you don't evolve beyond them. Ask yourself whether you are reverting back to the familiarity of your origin story of why you were wounded or when you were rejected. Do you talk about how your family molded you as a child without also acknowledging that you've already become someone else? That's like that transition that I made from being like mostly selfish to actually considering that, oh, hey, there's other people that would like to enjoy the same comforts, creature comforts, whatever it is. And that is a question it asks that really, it made me think, because I had to ask myself, well, have you done that? Do I talk about how my family molded me as a child without also acknowledging that I've become someone else? I really had to, do I do that? I think that my record on that is imperfect. I don't think I talk about the two together, but now I know I should, because it's the truth. I was one way, and definitely I was influenced by various family members, and I did grow up and break out of it. And I'm not saying that your family can teach you nothing, but sometimes they can teach you nothing you need. So anyway, moving on. Teaching from an old wound will never allow you a new adventure. Instead, bring to mind how you've already changed, remembering that you have new stories to rely and build upon. Do you want to move beyond the barrier of glass that you've placed between yourself and the horizon? You can, and it's not difficult. Answer the call to a new adventure and drop your resistance to sailing the uncharted seas of your potential. The wind will soothe and sing the dream thief to sleep so you can wake up and move forward. You are so much more than you know. Now it's time to express what has lain dormant. Your new adventure has already begun. That last part speaks to me too, about how the wind will soothe and sing the dream thief to sleep so you can wake up and move forward. And that to me is that before period where I was kind of lost in the sleep of selfishness, and I mean, not completely, but like I said, I came to a point where I just felt differently about things. Things looked differently, but not that different. I mean, I kind of always had like the compassion for people that were marginalized in whatever way. But it deepens, and in a way, like everything about you becomes gentler as you get older, because you realize there's no reason to just pull out all the stops and go completely nuts every time some little thing goes wrong, or your interaction with a person doesn't go exactly the way you wanted. It's not something to get angry about. And I've been in the midst of making the transition. I'm just making an example here, because this has not happened, where I've just been in an argument with somebody else, and then eventually I realized, oh wait, I could have just talked to him or not acted the way that I did, that was aggressive and angry. But I'm saying I can imagine the concept, and going from aggressive and angry to, okay, well, here's what I thought of. And it was also like the planter too, and this happened years ago, so like I said, I'm not all the way there, but I had made a pan of food, and and it was a glass pan, so it was full of the food that I had labored over with care because I was anticipating eating it, and it was like, oh man, this is gonna be so good. You ever do that? And because I sometimes have flippers for hands, I was putting it in the oven, and one hand just decided it wasn't gonna hold up anything and turn into a piece of wet kelp. And so this heavy glass pan full of food went bloop, and yeah, it went and dumped all over the oven door and the floor and inside the oven and all over the cabinets. I was chasing around little specks of flown food. I was finding it for days. And when that happened, oh my God, I'm getting chills because I said to myself, well, you can lose your mind or you can clean it up and just chalk it off to a loss. And I did, and it was the first time I think that I consciously said that to myself and did it. And it took so long to clean up. And by the time I was done, I certainly wasn't going to do all of the cooking again that had taken so long. And I was just eating a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and thinking, well, that could have gone better. But you know what? Big deal. I missed a meal. It's not going to hurt me. But it's the difference in the way that you're affected by stuff that, you know, you can maybe run your cat out of the house temporarily or forever if you're repeatedly scaring them off because you're going through something in a way that maybe you could, you know, alter it just slightly and not run off your friend. So, the end of it says, you are so much more than you know, or I did read that. Now it's time to express what is laying dormant. Your new adventure has already begun. Well, I'm not going to say more about that, otherwise I won't get to the next thing. So, the other card I pulled from the Wild Unknown Animal Spirit deck was Butterfly. And I think it's pretty commonly known that a butterfly represents transition. And the butterfly starts out as a larva, like a little worm type situation, or is it a caterpillar? Well, it's a worm-ish thing, at any rate, before it goes into the transition. So it starts out as a soft infant that it can't really defend itself, and then it goes through a transitional period of, I don't know, I guess adolescence, but it does it inside of a cocoon, which it builds around itself to... I was thinking of Dracula in a casket, but the butterfly is far more benign than a vampire. But still, it has to like be in a little containment unit while it goes through changes. And I know with like adolescent human youth, that could be beautiful or ugly, but also all of the above, and it's messy and maybe not the most pleasant thing to look at. But when the butterfly emerges from the cocoon, or the human goes through enough changes that they change themselves, it is a period for the butterfly, at least, where it's like covered up, it's out of sight, and whatever happens, good, bad, and ugly, is no one has to look at it. So the difference between the butterfly's period of transition, where they're like cocooned away, where you can't see them, at least for like the onlooker, it is a more gentle experience than dealing with a human from age 11 to 28. We have a long period where we're just not not all the way grown up, and our decisions are, they could be better, but we learn. Eventually, I think that if we don't learn the whole lesson, we learn some stuff. But the butterfly it's a good symbol. It's a positive symbol, but it's a good symbol also for, just to think of, like, maybe whatever kind of upsetting thing you're going through, instead of outwardly being prickly and scary, you can turn it inward. And every experience can be something positive that you get something out of, that advances your thinking to a more positive place, a more inclusive place, a more loving place. And those are two things that we humans have so much trouble with, is being openly loving and accepting of other people and ourselves. Because really, I think when we have problems accepting other people, the problem lies within, and that's where we have to start. And I don't know how we got it turned around, but we do it backwards. Like, we start like with everything on the outside messy, like a dog shaking off funky swamp water, when throwing everything out in the world for everyone else to experience and have thoughts on is not going to help your end of the experience. Like, maybe you need to roll the tape backwards and, unshake the water, and, don't throw it at everybody else. Clean up your own mess on yourself and then relate to the world. I know that turned into a bunch of different metaphors. I hope you can follow that. Oh shoot, hold on, let me take a drink. And now I'm going to read from the Wild Unknown Animal Spirit Guidebook. Oh, that's not the right one. Let me find the flying things. I pulled the card out and lost the page. Yeah, so, just while I'm looking for that, let me have some side talk. I went out earlier and went with my caregiver to Safeway, or not Safeway, to Walmart to finish up some shopping. And we were in line waiting to turn into the parking, and there was a spot right on the end that obviously we were waiting for. And there was a woman that was behind us, and I guess she just got tired of waiting. And the dude starts to back out, and the woman floors it around us. Like, I'm not kidding. She was going probably 30, some miles an hour from where she was stopped behind us. Like, she floored it. Her tires actually barked a little to get around us, to get that space that we had been waiting for. And, I forgot all about gentle and was out the window going, "What are you doing? Where's your parking lot etiquette? What's wrong with you?" And other people were honking and stuff too, because, hello, you don't drive like that in the parking lot. It's not a freeway or even a street. There could be some little child that's too low for you to see out of your window that you could just maul. You could just mash them. And that was not gentle on my part. So that's what I'm saying. Like, possibly I'm still in transition, and that was definitely out of the cocoon behavior. It was provoked, but it doesn't make it okay. Part of, the transition that I would like to finish already is to curb that kind of behavior. Like, I didn't have to add to the situation. That woman was perfectly horrible enough on her own. I mean, she was dangerous, she was reckless, and she was greedy, selfish. I don't know, like, Who does that? But after I yelled at them, my caregiver that was driving the car was saying, "Oh, I want to go over and yell at her." And I stopped her and I said, "No, no, no, because you don't have to." So she started it. I jumped in. Don't add to it. Just keep your slate clean. And I had to remind her a couple of times, should have reminded myself, but I jumped out of my skin before I knew what was happening because, I explained the dangers of stuff and also stealing. So I momentarily lost control. Let's just say what it is. But here is, I found the page, so I'm going to read what it says about the butterfly. Undergoing great change and transformation. The energy of the butterfly is with us during periods of transition. Since air is the element of the heart, the change usually involves relationships, or if you love your job, perhaps your career. Since transition is accompanied by some amount of discomfort, be extra patient and kind during this time. So, the woman that cut people off, or cut us off, and she also, other drivers were happening at the time, and they also had to stop and be like, "Whoa, what the hell's happening?" It was really disruptive. If I were a cat, I would have run off. Anyway, since transition is accompanied by some amount of discomfort, be extra patient and kind during this time, especially if the butterfly is you. Let solid friends and activities support you like a cocoon. I'm remembering a thread on Facebook. Maybe I'll tell you about it. Let solid friends and activities support you like a cocoon. Committing to one daily routine, a meal, a practice, a prayer. That's this, and I'm such a flake, but I'm doing it once a day. Done at the same time and place. Well, I'm not great at that. Will do wonders for lifting a butterfly's spirit. When in balance, cheerful, graceful. When out of balance, fragile, frustrated. Bring into balance a daily routine. Well, if I've said it once, I've said it a million times. If we have stuff to do with our time that is fulfilling and gratifying, then we don't have time to mess with other people and judge them for how they are and what they're doing. And we used to be able to disapprove of something, and it didn't require the person having to leave the country or the planet in some cases, helped off by someone else who is not handling their own angries and aggressives very well, and dogs spraying their crap all over other people. I think the way to help people out of that or past that kind of behavior and sort of thoughtlessness and just sort of uncaring about how what perhaps you have done is going to affect other people. When you start to care about those things, you are changing, you have made a change, and I think it's like maturity, but I think that you don't necessarily have to be aged to reach maturity. It just depends on your consciousness and your thinking, the way that you think about things, which is, I suppose, encompasses compassion. That is not the word I just used. Oh, shoot. Well, maybe it'll come back to me. But yeah, I mean, I think I'm still making my same point. And the country as a whole, not all of us are cocooning at the same time or at all. And, I know what I was saying. We can only really, hope for the best for people and support them by not giving them an example to something to retaliate against. And I know it's hard. It's so hard. But we have to move beyond this hurt people mentality, because it's not a good circle to be locked into. Eventually, like, one of the hurt people has to say, okay, I'm hurt, you got me. Let's move on to the next thing. And it's hard enough to do it with ourselves, and we certainly can't. You can't tell people to start doing stuff. I don't know if you've noticed in your life, but that doesn't, work. And you can really only say that to a limited number of people, like your young child. And all I can say is, if your young child is me, you remember that stuff when you get older, and you don't want to do it back to your child, which I don't have, or to other people, which I do have. Because I don't want them doing that to me. It's a very simple thing. I learned it as a young child. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. That is so hard to remember, but it is such a basic Christian Bible thing, and there's so many basic Christians out there not observing it. They have an excuse, they have a reason for doing unchristly things, and good luck with that at your review. You don't think everybody's there. Well, never mind what I think about that. That's not important right now. Anyway, I'm going to be done. I'm going to take another drink because I'm thirsty. Blow my nose a little bit. So, before I say thank you and good night, I got to a late start today because I went out and rode my trike, and I'm so weak. I went to bed, or I didn't go to bed, but I sat down in my recliner, and I know it was 5 something, and then I woke up and it was 11. It was like, ooh, I am behind schedule. So that is why I got to a late start. Went out and exercised myself into the fatigue fugue. Thank you and good night.